to the She Leads podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, CEO and founder of She Leads Media, a global media company dedicated to the advancement of women leaders and entrepreneurs worldwide. I'm also an adjunct professor at NYU and Rice University, where I teach on the topic of entrepreneurship. I'm a mom to two wonderful young men and married to my best friend from college. Join me each week as I dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women entrepreneurs and leaders. My hope is that these conversations and their advice will encourage you to put yourself out there and gain the visibility that you and all women deserve. We're all about stripping away the sugar-coated conversations and moving boldly in the direction of our magnificent dreams. For far too long, women have been conditioned to soften their words, modify their actions, and show up in the world to conform to outdated at best and harmful at worst cultural norms and ideals. Why? To keep those who are outside of the power structures from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence. This has prevented women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. The She Leads podcast is here to shine the light on all the incredible women, to encourage us to show up, speak up, and showcase the amazing work we do. Speak with confidence about the innovative and transformational thoughts that we have, and celebrate the positive impact that we are making in this world, both personally and professionally. So let's do this. Let's lead. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the She Leads podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, and I just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by our She Leads Live 2024 conference. It's our 10th anniversary for women entrepreneurs and leaders, and it's taking place in New York City on October 18th and 19th. So if you haven't bought your ticket, please go out and do so now because they are going fast. So today, I'm very excited to welcome my next guest. Her name is Michelle Charpentier, and she brings over 15 years of diverse experience from startups to luxury brands. She founded Charp Consulting with a mission to empower all brands to reach their full potential. A graduate of Columbia College, Chicago, in arts, entertainment, and media management, she also holds an image consulting certification from FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology, which has been instrumental in working with individuals on personal branding. Michelle's career spans impactful roles at companies like David Yurman, where she developed award-winning customer experience strategies. As Chief Visionary Officer of Charp Consulting, Michelle leads in coaching, strategy, and creative direction, alongside serving as leadership coach at Braven. She's also a board member of the Columbia College Chicago National Alumni Board, where she contributes to mentorship and dynamic programming. Her current focus is on supporting nonprofits, women-owned businesses, and fellow mom-preneurs through innovative consulting services and community building initiatives like Sharp Connections. She's also writing a book. Oh my gosh, this woman is busy. This is why we love her. She's also writing a book aimed at helping individuals discover their life purpose. Interested individuals can join the waitlist to learn more. We'll talk about that at the end. She lives in New York. She's a fellow New Yorker with her two toddlers, age 2 and 3, and a 16-year-old. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that you're awake. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hi, thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, you're so funny.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a great conversation. Yeah. So we were just chit-chatting a little bit before the podcast started here, and we were talking about how important it is, especially with our focus on women entrepreneurs and leaders, right, to have this positive languaging so that we are moving forward. And exactly. You do so much consulting and mentorship. Can you talk a little bit about the people that you're working with and some of the things that they have on their minds?
Oh my gosh, sure. So when I started my company as a solopreneur, I missed having a team of people that I could collaborate and work with and coach. And so that's how I really fell into the whole mentorship space, is just my desire to connect with people. And so one of the first opportunities that I started doing this with was an organization named Braven, who helps first generation college students. And I love being able to work with them because it reminded me of my corporate days where I had, my team of individuals and they were just young in their career and they're eager and motivated and they're just like, they've got the world at their feet.
Yep.
And then as, fast forward being a mom, my daughter is in preschool. And so meeting fellow moms that are, not all of them are entrepreneurs. Some of them are stay-at-home moms. Some of them are working for another business. And I just realized the need for connection with like-minded people. We're navigating a very scary thing, which is toddlers. And, also my oldest is, he's a senior this year. So navigating college applications. And so I'm always just really inspired by the people around me and, the circumstances that we're going through and knowing that we're not going through them alone. So that's kind of how
Yes.
everything kind of came about, is just through connecting with others and seeing where we can help fill gaps in to make life a little bit easier and help us feel a little less alone.
I love that. So you started out in the corporate world and
Yeah.
I did too, and there we left for a reason, but we started also for a reason. And I think it was a good reason and it was sort of a path that we went down. But what was the reason that you decided to make the move into entrepreneurship from corporate? Because so many of us, have been on that path.
Yeah. Well, it's really funny because my career in corporate kind of was by accident. As you mentioned, I have a degree in arts, entertainment, media management. And so I had always been freelancing. I, worked at New York Fashion Week. I've, worked for a number of different fashion houses and other small businesses for fashion show productions, special events, like you name it, always something kind of in a creative endeavor. And I had an opportunity as like a temp job, actually, is how it kind of happened. It was just a gig that I had. And then one day project turned into a few weeks, turned into a few months, I was there for 9 years.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I'm glad that I didn't push it aside. Although it totally was not in my plan, I'm glad that I didn't push it aside because of all the tremendous skills and opportunities that I was able to experience through that, of course. But along the way, I'd always been doing things, like I said, I was doing stuff for New York Fashion Week on my off hours. And I was, I just have always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So I always knew that one day I would have something for myself. But what happened was, in so many years of corporate, how much time did I make to really make a career for myself, for my business? Like zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was doing stuff for fun, but it wasn't like a business. It was just unofficial. It was like a little side hustle. The pandemic happened. I was pregnant with my daughter and I was supporting retail. And of course, all the stores got shut down. And so my position, my team was terminated. And
Oh, wow.
so there I was with my opportunity where I had time
Yep.
and I had my vision and I was like, you know what? I had this tremendous opportunity. It was really, truly a blessing in disguise for me getting laid off because I was like, well, now I can make something of this and I can just give it a shot.
Yeah.
And then that's how my business was born.
That's amazing. And yeah, sometimes the opportunities that seem so scary to us are the ones that turn into the greatest joys of our lives.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to you and I feel like so many women that I talk to, we are these multi-passionate people that
Yeah.
have so many different things that we want to do. And then we also want to make sure that we're, monetizing them, for lack of a better word. I don't
Yep.
really like to say that we want to monetize our, our loves, our desires, our hobbies, but
Yeah.
we want to be able to do that so that we can almost be our best selves. Because when we're in that creative mode or when we're in the mode of helping other people, we can't continue to do that unless we can somehow figure out how to bring money in from that. And I think that's something that again, is like universal for so many women entrepreneurs that I talk to, that I know, and
Mm,
even for myself. It's like those conversations around know your value.
yeah.
I think that maybe we do know our value, but
Hmm.
the thing that's misaligned is how do we take our skills, our passions, our creativity, just our desire to help other people? How
Yeah.
do we turn that into a money making venture? Do you have any like thoughts around that?
I hear you 100%. And honestly, that was my biggest challenge when I started because I just love helping people. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I'm like, how do I put a dollar to this? Like, it feels funny. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I was like, but at the same time, like, I have to feed my kids. Like, I can't
Right.
just, I can't just work for free. And like, if I could, like, I would, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it goes back to like striking that balance where, and that was also figuring out how I even price myself too, because, my business was new, but I was not,
Right.
I come with all these years of experience of working with major companies. So although this is like, I've been around for a few years or even just starting out, I'm like a few months. It was
Yeah.
like that self-doubt, like, is it okay that I'm saying that this is how much this is? But that's why I really shied away from an hourly wage because like when I'm working with someone, I'm like all about them. I'll
Yeah.
get an idea in the shower, but I'm not going to pay you for like the time that I'm in my shower. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I kind of found ways where I priced myself that was comfortable to me, but also I think it's something that like just came with practice. So like if I was doing a project and then I realized, oh my gosh, I really undercharged myself here. And then it was just like a learning lesson.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like, it's one thing where you have your product or your services and you know the value of it. Like, the time and effort that's going to go into it, the outcome and the value of it. But then
Yeah.
if there are other projects that you want to do that are at lesser or no amount, then you still satisfy that need to support. And so I don't charge for mentorship for my young professionals. And so I'm able to provide that volunteer experience in that time. But because I have clients now, that helps offset that kind of time that I'm putting into it. So I'm still feeding that void, but I'm growing my business. And so
Mhm.
it's just one of those things where you kind of just have to practice and play around with it and see what sticks.
Yeah.
But that was 100% a huge challenge for me when I got started. And it's a challenge for many of the women that I work with too, not sure how to
Yeah.
price themselves and feeling like, is it okay that I'm charging this amount of money?
Yeah, I find that the challenge in that too is that there's the who you're working with. And
Mhm.
I personally find this to be really challenging because I'm so passionately committed to women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And, we could talk all day long about all the statistics that are sort of stacked,
Yeah.
against us. But what happens is when you start a business that services other women entrepreneurs, we're all sort of suffering from this like, well, I of course see your value. You're amazing, brilliant, bring all this experience. I just literally don't have the money to pay you.
Mhm.
And so I think that maybe what you're suggesting is you find that other group that could almost, underwrite, if you will, some of the other work. The way you're
Yeah.
doing it is amazing in that you can offer the mentorship. And I'm even thinking just even about my business and the business of some of the people that I am close with. It's like maybe go to the bigger corporations where they do have some funds and figure
Mhm.
out how do you do your work within a larger corporation so that it
Mhm.
can almost benefit the women entrepreneurs. To me,
Yeah.
I'm like in a bind there because in so many ways I feel like She Leads Media is saying, "Hey ladies, don't go work in corporate. It's not for you." And then, turning to corporate and saying, "But can you help us out here?" And so
Mm.
for me, it's almost like a little bit of a misalignment. and just trying to figure out what all the right balance is there. That has been the single greatest challenge for me in my business.
Yeah. What I would say to that, so going back to my college days and young professional days, it's something that's always stuck with me. But in networking and in special events and all of these things, it's all about partnerships. And that's something that I really bring into everything that I do. And so actually a woman that I'm starting to work with, we worked together because she didn't have the funds, but I believed in what she was doing and I didn't care. I cared that she didn't have money, but I didn't care that she had money because I knew that it was temporary, that she didn't
Yes.
have funding. So how I approached it, just because I really believed in the work that she's doing and still today, is I said, well, why don't we collaborate we'll do an event. Let's do an event together. It's a collaboration. And now she is one of my paying clients. So
Amazing.
I think there's always a way where if it's someone or something that you believe in, the work that they're doing, it's always worth a shot exploring. So if that person can't pay you X amount of dollars for whatever project or service you typically offer, well, what other ways can we collaborate and see if there's something there? Maybe we make it into something else that we can get some monetization off of. I don't know if I said that word.
Yes, you did.
Monetize off of. See, I can't say that word either. I feel funny talking about money too. But then I think then you have this thing where, let's just say an event for an example, right? Where maybe, you are working with a client on an event, but then maybe the larger corporation is your sponsor and they're a sponsor because they have a woman CEO. So it's not like we're saying, don't work with big businesses, but I think your message is really more about, there's room for women in the boardroom. There's women for us in the workplace. So although you're supporting entrepreneurs, I think there's ways to show the partnership to help bridge the gap between large corporations, small corporations, and the women that are advocates for women in their business and then women, small business owners. There's a way where it could help maybe through sponsorships or workshops or, you know what I mean? It's all about looking at it from a partnership perspective, I think.
I love that so much. I'm listening to you talk. I'm listening to how you're, you have this piece and that piece. And the thing that just pops into my mind is that you're a creator, you're a designer.
Oh, yeah.
You're literally bringing all of these pieces together and finding out where they intersect and everything. And I think that it's so amazing and creative. And I admire that so much. It's great work and it does take a different lens. And I think that's also something that women bring to the table.
Oh,
Is this
100%.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And that's something that I always said. So, I worked many years in retail operations, but I also have that creative side of me. So in this opportunity that I've created for myself for being my own boss and having my own business, I'm able to really utilize my left brain and my right brain. And I think there's so many women that have that same skill set. They've just maybe not been able to exercise it in that way because they're in a particular role,
Yes.
So when God, we're always thinking outside the box, right? Because we're always presented with challenges and we always want to find a way out. So how do you do that? It's through strategic thinking. It's through collaborations. It's through just trying it and seeing what works. And if it doesn't work, then just don't do it again. That's what I tell my kids if I'm, presenting something new that they haven't eaten before. I said, well, take a bite. If you don't like it, I'm not going to make you eat it, but try it. You know what I mean? And then you know that you don't actually like it, not just you think you don't like it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really, really good advice. I think that's good advice for life. Just, try it. And
just try it.
Yeah. And entrepreneurship is a great big experiment after all, right? And especially now the world is so different that, marketing is so different. I mean, it's mind-boggling. And, how do we learn? I was listening to somebody the other day that was, a self-proclaimed digital expert, but back in, 2017, they said, they knew everything about websites and digital and email and everything. And today, they said they don't know anything anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, I will say, you know, for marketing and communications in general, like the general rule of just like strategy and like marketing communications, like I feel like, I mean, you know, there are tools that we use to communicate those things and to execute those things. And of course, those will always change. But I think
Yes.
generally, like how we do it and go about it, it's always kind of been the same way, just using new tools. And so that's another thing too that I learned along the way is I felt like I needed to be an expert in every single thing that I was doing. And that was unrealistic for me to
Yeah.
think that of myself or to like
Yeah.
put that pressure on myself. So I love being able to provide the creative direction and the strategy, but I'm very honest with myself about like what I don't know. And also I'm not going to force myself to do a task that like I really hate doing because I know it's just not going to get done. And
Yeah.
so, you know, then that's when I bring in, you know, other people to collaborate. There are other people that that's their strong suit and that's their passion. And it's going to take them 5 seconds to do something that's probably going to take me 5 years to do because I'm going to drag my feet because I don't want to do it.
Yep.
And so that's just, again, the power of just like collaborating and finding other ways where you can work with people to utilize each other's strengths.
I love that so much. And I feel like that's another strength that women really provide is that we know, I mean, we know so many people, right? That they're like, even in the back
Yeah.
of our brains, like, oh, wait, I know her. She does this. And we get so excited because we want to bring those people along with us. And there's sort of no
Mm.
competition. And I think it's
Oh, yeah.
being able to, from a business point of view, being able to figure out how do you bring everybody together in that partnership scenario so that all of a sudden, you know, this person's charging that and that person's charging that. And then all of a sudden the, you know, the price for the project is just like unbearable. So there's that constant, you know, balancing act that we all have to think about in order to bring these things to fruition.
Yeah, it's true. And that's why having like a strong strategy goes into place too, because I think it just keeps everything organized. And when you're talking about having pricing and all these things, you know, that may rack up, I think it's like, okay, if we want to make this affordable to the consumer so that they can enjoy it and just understanding who our audience is, what's the max here? Like what's the goal? And then we kind of can work back from that. So maybe it's again like maybe I'm not charging for this, but maybe if, you know, you're like a marketing sponsor, then your name is going on all of this collateral in exchange for this. Or maybe you're contributing by being like the food and beverage sponsor. So you're getting you're getting in front of all these people. You know what I mean? So just
Yes.
kind of knowing how to like finesse it. But that just goes back to also having the right partners because
Yeah.
if everyone is aligned on what the goal is and what like the mission is, and that's why I love you so much because I love what you're doing for women in the workplace and beyond.
Thank
And
you.
that's why I was so happy to speak with you too, because you know, this is my time that I want to give to you, but it's important that I give to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So when you
Yes.
have people that are like-minded that come together, the outcome is just beyond what you could even put on a price tag, I think. Because the
Right.
money will
Yeah.
come. The
Yeah.
money will come.
What you're saying is it's the, you know, the sum is greater than the
Yes.
pieces added together individually, and it goes
Right.
beyond, it extends into the future. And I love that so much. And that
Yeah.
truly is what She Leads has been built on from the very beginning. It's bigger, it's so much bigger than me. You know, I think about the art of gathering, Priya Parker, right? Like
Yeah.
I've always sort of been that person, like, oh, come over my house, like, oh yeah, let's have a party. Like, you know, it's not about me. Like, yes, I'll create the space for it, but
Yeah.
come together and you all hang out and talk, and I'll be a part of it. But it's not about me. But I'm really good at like bringing people together, and it's
Yeah.
fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. I love it
Absolutely.
so much. So
Yeah.
talk to me about the book that you are
Oh my goodness.
writing. Yes.
Yeah. So that's been a labor of love. But that, you know, again, it's just been inspired by people that I've been working with. So of course it really started initially with young professionals who have all these skills and desires and interests and just weren't quite sure what they wanted to make of it. But even more recently, actually a friend of mine that I'm producing an event with next month, we met while we were interns, actually. We were PR interns in New York
Oh,
years ago.
really?
Always stayed in touch, but, we're moms now and, gets ahead of you.
Yep.
And so we recently reconnected, and she's in this position where she has the job that she's doing, but it's moved away very much from our days as interns. And so she wants to go back to what she was doing. So she's, having those conversations with her where it's like, I don't love what I'm doing, but do I just try to find another job like at another company doing what I'm doing? Or do I, you know what I mean? So this book is really meant to help people where they're at different stages of their life and finding out like, what are you meant to do? And it all goes back to your personal values and beliefs and interests. Because say you're working in sales, for example, and you hate your job. And if you go to work for another company that's in sales, you might hate that too, because you're not happy in sales. Like that's the problem.
Right.
It's not the company.
Right.
So if you're not an entrepreneur, that is fine. Not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but I think it's really important that if you're going to work for someone, that whatever their service or their product is, that it's aligned with how you live your life and how you view your life. Because how can you sell a product that you're not passionate about? Like, how could you, like, whatever it is, whether it's apparel, whether it's food and beverage, I mean, whatever it is. So if it's not something that you're passionate about, you're always going to be misaligned. And so the point of this is really to help people work through doing that inner work to figure out what am I meant to do? Like, what are the things that I want to do? What do I like to do? And then it helps lead you to whatever you were meant to do.
That's so, yeah.
A lot
And
of inner work.
I teach a class at NYU on entrepreneurship to undergraduates and graduate students. And one of the things that we do is before, I always say like, we're going to get there with the business stuff. But before we even get there, we need to figure out what we want as individuals. What does success look like to you? And what kind of business do you want? I went through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program back in, oh my God, I guess it was 2018, 2017, 2018. And one of the first things that they sort of ask us is like, what type of a business do you want? Like, do you want a business where you can relax a couple of days a week, or do you want to be grinding it out 24/7, 7 days a week? Because if you set out to have a company where you get to take Fridays off and go play tennis or pickleball, and you're grinding it away, you're not going to love your business. And you've just created something that is out of alignment with who you are. Why did you do that? So it's like, be decisive about the structure of the business that you want to create. And like that is almost like, what? It's mind blowing, because we're not taught to think about our business like that. We're taught to like, do everything, kill yourself to make it successful. Right?
Yeah. I think like the expectation from whoever, I don't even know where we got this from, but I guess the perception is that like, if you're a business owner, you have to work 24/7, right? And like, there is a lot of like long nights. Like there are a lot of, there is a lot of that, especially in the beginning. But I think it's because, at least from personal experience, there's a lot of that because you love it so much. You just want to figure it out, I'd be lying if I said that I truly disconnect myself when I'm not behind my computer. Because I'm always inspired by, like I went to a birthday party over the weekend talking to another woman and wow, had an epiphany moment that I ran back and, you know what I mean? Like it's always happening. So that's why I think they say like, if you do what you love, you never work for a day in your life, but it's true. And I never considered myself a salesperson before because it felt uncomfortable to me. But the clients that I've been able to work with have comes so naturally because I don't hard sell people. We'll
Yeah.
just be talking about something and one thing leads to another. And then they're like, hey, so I have this thing, like, do you want to talk about, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it kind of happens. And I'm like, yeah, oh my God, like, let's talk about it, And
Yeah.
I'm realizing like I do kind of sell, but like not on purpose and not the way that I would consider like a salesperson to sell, like that hard selling. So yeah, I mean, you have to really love what you're doing and it has to be so a part of you where it's just so comfortable to talk about what you're talking about. And you have to be able to promote yourself like all the time and
Yeah.
the things that you're doing. So people know, especially as a new business, like my God, like no one knows about you.
Yeah,
So it
that's
can be
such
a lot.
great. I love that advice so much. It just reminds me of just being an advocate, right? Like advocacy. Like you're
Mhm.
talking about your business, you're super excited about it. Just like you would, oh, I just had a new baby. Like you have to see
Yeah,
how cute
exactly.
this baby is, right?
Exactly.
So it's the same thing with your business, especially when you're mission driven and what you're doing is helping people to help themselves and
Mhm.
to grow and all of it. So why wouldn't you say, hey, I'm so passionate about this. Like, let's talk. And I think
Right.
that doing what you're doing in the book, like trying to discover what your life purpose is so that you can be an advocate for yourself and your business and sort of make it a little bit easier, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
it's like, yep, I'm aligned and I'm walking down that path. It's a little bit smoother and I don't feel
Yeah.
so yucky. And hey, if it's not for you, that's okay. Cause I know that it's for someone else and no hard
Mhm.
feelings. Like let's
Exactly.
continue to be friends. And
Yes.
that's like the most beautiful thing ever. And I am going to take that as inspiration too, because
Oh, good.
sometimes I feel like I'm screaming from the mountaintops about, she leads and it's not that I don't want it to be as successful as it possibly can be, but it's bigger than me.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
about women starting businesses, growing businesses, figuring out how to do that right so that we can have that economic power because we do
Mhm.
good things with it. We
Mhm.
move the world forward, and that is, like,
Yes.
what it's about ultimately.
Yes, absolutely. And something that I've always said too that was important for me in my business is leaving a legacy, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
especially as a mother of a daughter, setting
Yep.
that example for her. And not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. I respect that. And, like I mentioned before, but I think just having an example of, a mom that is not like stressed out all the time, like, you know what I mean? Like you're allowed to have your own inner peace and like
My
you have to
gosh.
take care of yourself and you deserve balance, you know what I mean? And so I think as women we are always creating excuses for why we're not doing things for ourselves and putting our dreams aside. But it's like if you don't do it, like when are you going to do it? Like
Yeah.
it's not it's not as hard as you think to try to do it. You just need to make the time. If you don't
Yeah.
make the time, it won't ever happen. It's like I
Yeah.
was telling someone before, it's like losing weight, right? Where it's like, I want to lose 10 pounds. And so you buy the new sneakers and you got your Stanley Cup and you got, all your stuff that you need, but you never schedule time to go for the walk or
Yeah.
like to go to the grocery store to buy, your kale or like whatever you
Right,
need
you
for
make it
your,
harder.
you know,
You make it harder on yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then when
Yeah.
you like make the time to go for the walk, you're feeling good about yourself because look, you made one small step. And that's
Yeah.
really all that you need to do is just a bunch of small steps to plan for it. And then you can really achieve anything you want. You just got to plan for it.
Yeah.
And if you need help, there are people like you and I who have who want to be a support system for women to achieve their goals. So there are resources out there for you. There
Yeah.
are communities and networks that want to see you thrive.
I love that. Oh my gosh, Michelle, I feel like I could talk to you forever, and we will continue to
I
talk
know.
forever. That goes
I
without
agree.
saying.
I agree. I agree.
So how can people get in touch with you, learn from you, and sign up hopefully for the pre-launch of your book?
Yeah. Yeah. So my website is charpconsulting.com. Charp is CHARP, like my last name, Charpentier. I'm on LinkedIn. I love connecting with new people. Don't be shy. Like I love chatting with people and LinkedIn, website, Instagram. I'm all over.
Awesome. We can find you for sure. Well,
You'll
thank you
find me.
so much. This was so awesome speaking
Thank
with you
you.
today, and we will talk again soon.
Yes. Thank you so much.
This and all of our episodes are brought to you by the She Leads Podcast Network, the podcast network for women, by women. Thanks so much for listening to the She Leads podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support us, please share it with others, make a personalized post about what you took away on social media, and please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. This helps our guests and our show to continue to gain visibility and traction. To learn more about how She Leads Media helps women to gain visibility, you can follow us on Instagram at She Leads Media, or you can head on over to sheleadsmedia.com. If you'd like to network with me and other amazing women, don't forget to join us each year for the She Leads Live conference. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.